Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to make this viral TikTok cabbage recipe. I found this on Mr. Make It Happen's site and it looked really good, so I thought I'd give it a shot. It actually is really good, and I recommend that you do try to make this. So we're going to start out with a full head of cabbage. It's been washed and cleaned. We're going to cut this thing in half. Use a sharp knife. Cut it in half, and then we're going to cut it into wedges. First things first, we're going to cut that off. And now we're going to cut this thing into wedges. The bigger the better. This first one here, I think I kind of cut them a little bit thinner than they should have been, but they weren't too bad. They'll work for the recipe. But cut both halves into wedges. So this is what you're looking for. Nice sizable pieces. They don't need to be huge. They don't need to be too thin. If you make them too thin, it's probably not going to work too well. But I tried to keep them as thick as I could. Pretty good. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to put a little bit of oil into our pan. And we want to sear these cabbage halves or cabbage wedges. Let this get up to about medium to high heat. And to be honest, I didn't let the pan get hot enough. Now I'm going to put them in. And it's going to take a little bit longer for me to get these browned. But it'll work. So let's start putting these in. I'm putting in as many as I can fit into this pan. Hopefully I can fit them all in here after a little bit. Okay, well, we have our wedges in. I'm going to hit these with a little bit of extra olive oil, because the olive oil helps to make them brown. A little bit, not much. You don't need a whole lot. So there we go. We're searing them on the one side, and then eventually we're going to flip these over and sear them on the opposite side. And I'm going to put the extra pieces that I couldn't fit into the pan in here and sear those also. We're going to sear them off. We're going to put in a little bit of ground sea salt and a little bit of ground pepper on these. And they're sizzling up pretty good. They're browning pretty good. These are flipped. Might have to flip these ones back over. This is a new recipe for me, so we're trying to work it as best we can. So that's what they look like when they're done. They're not mushy, and they kind of have a little bit of a bite to them. So we don't want to pull these off when they're totally cooked. We're going to put some more olive oil in our pan, and we're going to add in the other pieces that we cut. So here we go. These are the other wedges. Make sure that they're all getting seared and toasted. And again, keep in mind, you don't want to get these to the point where they're totally mushy. I personally like the cabbage to have a little bit of bite to it. But we're searing it off. Once these are done, we're going to use a spatula. We're going to take these out of the pan. We're going to put them onto a plate. We're going to add a little bit more of salt, a little bit more pepper, and we're going to just let these cook. Now we're a few minutes into our cook. We're going to flip these over, and we're going to try and brown them on the other side. Again, we're not looking to make them totally soft. We're just looking to get a little bit of a sear on them. Now at this point, we can make some room in our pan, and we can put the other pieces back in, and we can cook them off too. So let's grab those other pieces. Let's put them in. We're going to make sure that everything's good and brown. It, like I said, doesn't have to be soft. It just has to be browned. That's what we're going for. Nothing special, but here we are. We flipped them over. They're pretty much good. We're going to take these off and we're going to put them on a plate. Okay, so using our spatula, we're going to get these cabbage wedges out of our pan. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a full stick of butter and we're going to melt that into our pan. Now we're going to add in our chopped onions. This is about a half of a Vidalia onion that's been chopped. We're going to stir that into our butter. Now to our onions and our butter mixture, we're going to add in some minced garlic. Probably about 2 tablespoons, maybe 3. I like garlic, so I tend to overdo it when it comes to garlic. 2 tablespoons. We're going to stir this in too. Yep, there we go. Stir it in, keep everything moving. You don't want your butter to burn. Now, we're going to add some Slap Your Mama Cajun seasoning. Liberally add it to it. I didn't do any measuring here. Now we're also going to add in some onion powder and some garlic powder. Liberally, again, you can do this to taste. So use whatever you like as far as seasonings and things go. But I recommend Cajun seasoning, a little bit of salt and pepper. There we go with the salt and pepper. And I would use some onion and some garlic powder. And there we go. It is smelling amazing. Now, at this point, you're pretty much good to go. It does smell amazing, but you want to give it a good stir. Make sure everything is mixed, and don't burn your butter. So at this point, you want to turn down your heat. I think I have this on about low heat, give or take, low to medium maybe. And we're going to stir everything in. You're going to make sure it's all nice incorporated. And then we're going to add our heavy cream. So there, we're still sizzling away. So now it's time to add in our heavy cream. We want to add about 2 cups of heavy cream to this. And we want to keep stirring this and make sure that everything stays mixed. And then when we get a nice consistency as far as our sauce is concerned, we're going to put our cabbage in there and we're going to make sure that it's good and covered. and we're going to put it into the oven. So let's get this mixed up, and we'll be back. All right, so this is mixed up and looking pretty good. Now we want to add our cheese to it. I'm adding Asiago cheese that's finely shredded. I shredded this myself. We're going to add this in. And the original recipe calls for Parmesan, but I just think Asiago cheese is much better. So we're going to put all that cheese in there. We're going to stir it in until it melts. We're also going to add some Parmesan, Asiago, and Romano cheese. This is regular shaker cheese, like you would put on, spaghetti and meatballs. Now we're going to mix all this together, make sure it combines, make sure it melts. The cheese is going to help to thicken up our mixture. And as soon as we get it to the consistency that we want, we are going to add in our cabbage. And we're going to spoon the sauce over top of our cabbage when we put it in. You want to constantly stir this and constantly keeping it moving so that nothing burns on the bottom of your pan. All right, so now we have a pretty good consistency. Let's start putting in our cabbage. We're going to add the cabbage to the pan, and we're going to spoon the sauce over it. All right, so once we have everything ready, we're going to put a lid on it. We're going to put this in the oven at 350 for about 45 minutes. All right, so this is cooked in our oven. We've gotten a little bit onto a plate. Let's give it a shot. Let's see how it is. If you don't like cabbage, I'm telling you, this is really good. You should try it. So, if you like my channel, like and subscribe. Let's see how this is. Wow. That's good stuff. So like and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you next time. Thanks.